The heart monitor beeped steadily in the quiet hospital room as sunlight spilled through the half-open blinds, painting golden lines across the expensive leather suitcase sitting untouched in the corner. Everyone believed billionaire investor Alaric Voss had been unconscious for 11 days. The doctors called it a miracle that he had survived the accident. The media called it a tragedy. His business partners called it unfortunate timing. But none of them knew the truth. Alaric could hear every whispered conversation, every phone call, every fake tear shed beside his bed. And the most heartbreaking words he would ever hear came from the one person who had no idea he was listening. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to Kindness Hub if you believe that even broken hearts deserve second chances. At 39 years old, Alaric Voss had everything money could buy. He owned luxury hotels across 3 continents, drove rare cars, and lived in a glass mansion overlooking the ocean. Financial magazines called him a genius. Television hosts described him as unstoppable. Yet despite his wealth, he ate most dinners alone. Success had cost him more than he cared to admit. His father had raised him with a single rule: emotions were weaknesses that ambitious people could not afford. Alaric followed that lesson faithfully. He worked through holidays, missed family gatherings, and ended relationships before they became serious enough to threaten his carefully constructed life. By the time he realized how empty his world had become, he no longer knew how to let people close. Then, one bright Tuesday morning, everything changed. His driver lost control while avoiding a delivery truck. The impact sent Alaric's car spinning into a concrete barrier. When he opened his eyes hours later, he heard doctors speaking urgently around him. They believed he was in a coma. Alaric tried to move his fingers. Nothing happened. He attempted to open his eyes. His body refused. Panic consumed him. For 2 days, he fought desperately to respond. By the 3rd day, small movements returned, but something unexpected happened. He overheard his younger brother discussing company shares in the hallway. His brother wasn't worried about his recovery. He was planning for his funeral. The next day, Alaric's former girlfriend visited. She cried loudly while cameras followed her into the hospital, then stopped crying the moment the reporters left. His business partners argued over leadership positions outside his room. People he had trusted for years revealed themselves when they believed he could no longer hear them. So Alaric made a decision. He continued pretending to be unconscious. Part of him wanted to know who genuinely cared. Another part feared discovering that nobody did. For days, people came and went. Lawyers. Executives. Distant relatives. Most stayed less than 10 minutes. Then, on the 7th morning, a new voice entered the room. Soft. Calm. Genuine. Her name was Mireya Hale. She was 32 years old, a private duty nurse assigned to monitor him during daytime hours. Unlike everyone else, she spoke to him as though he were fully awake. She described the weather outside. She adjusted his blanket carefully. She explained every medication before administering it. Most importantly, she treated him like a person instead of a headline. Mireya had kind eyes shadowed by exhaustion. Though Alaric couldn't see her clearly, he recognized fatigue in her voice. Some afternoons, she hummed quietly while organizing his medications. Other times, she read chapters from old novels because she believed hearing familiar voices helped recovery. No cameras followed her. No financial motives guided her actions. She simply cared. Over the next several days, Alaric learned more about her than he had learned about some of his closest associates in years. Mireya lived in a small apartment with her 12-year-old son, Rowan. 3 years earlier, her husband had abandoned the family after accumulating gambling debts. Since then, she worked double shifts to cover rent, school expenses, and medical bills for her elderly mother. Despite carrying burdens heavier than most people could imagine, she remained kind. Even when she thought nobody was watching. One afternoon, Alaric overheard her speaking quietly on the phone during her lunch break. The landlord wanted overdue rent by Friday. Her mother's medication costs had increased. Her son's school planned a science trip she could not afford. Yet after ending the call, she returned to his bedside and gently adjusted his pillow. Her voice never betrayed her worries. "Good afternoon, Mr. Voss," she said softly. "The sun is finally out today. I know you can't answer me, but I hope you're still fighting." For the first time in years, Alaric felt ashamed. He had spent millions acquiring things he barely remembered buying while people like Mireya struggled every day without losing their compassion. Days passed. Each morning, she arrived with the same quiet determination. Each evening, she left exhausted but never complained. And slowly, something changed inside him. He began waiting for her footsteps in the hallway. Waiting for her stories about Rowan's school projects. Waiting for her gentle reminders that healing takes time. Then came the afternoon that changed everything. Sunlight filled the room while distant sounds from the nurse's station drifted through the partially open door. Mireya sat beside his bed longer than usual. He noticed the tremble in her breathing. For several minutes, she remained silent. Then she spoke. "I know this sounds strange, Mr. Voss, but talking to you has become the easiest part of my day." Her voice cracked. Alaric felt his heartbeat quicken. "I spend so much time pretending I'm okay for everyone else. For my son. For my mother. For my patients." She took a shaky breath. "But sometimes I get tired." The room fell silent except for the steady rhythm of the monitor. "I wish someone would tell me it's okay not to carry everything alone." Tears filled her voice. "I know you can't hear me, and maybe that's why I can say this." Alaric wanted desperately to open his eyes. To tell her she wasn't alone. But he stayed still. Then she whispered words that shattered his heart. "People think money protects you from loneliness. Looking at your life, I realized pain doesn't care how much someone owns." She gently rested her hand over his. "I don't know who hurt you enough to make you build walls this high, but I hope you wake up someday and let someone care about you." A tear slipped down Alaric's cheek. Mireya gasped softly. He realized too late what had happened. Quickly, she called for the doctor. Within hours, specialists confirmed what they had hoped for. Alaric was waking up. The hospital erupted with excitement. His brother arrived first, suddenly emotional. Executives cancelled meetings. Reporters gathered outside. But Alaric searched for only one face. Mireya stood quietly near the doorway, trying not to draw attention. When their eyes finally met, neither spoke. They didn't need to. Weeks later, after extensive therapy, Alaric returned home. Everyone expected him to resume his old life. Instead, he surprised them. He stepped down from several boards. He established financial safeguards protecting company employees from sudden layoffs. He spent weekends volunteering at rehabilitation centers. And he never forgot the woman who reminded him what genuine kindness looked like. One afternoon, he visited the hospital carrying a simple paper bag. Inside were supplies for Rowan's science project and a handwritten note. Not a check. Not an extravagant gift. Just an invitation. Coffee. Conversation. Friendship. Mireya accepted. Over time, friendship became trust. Trust became healing. And healing slowly transformed into something neither of them expected. Months later, Alaric attended Rowan's school science fair. For the first time in decades, success wasn't measured by profit margins or stock prices. It was measured by laughter. By shared dinners. By being present. One evening, sitting on a park bench while watching Rowan fly a homemade kite, Alaric finally understood something money had never taught him. The richest moments in life cannot be purchased. They must be earned through kindness, vulnerability, and the courage to let people in. Mireya leaned her head gently against his shoulder. Neither of them spoke. The setting sun painted the sky with shades of gold and amber as children laughed nearby. For the first time in his life, Alaric felt truly wealthy. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still exists, and subscribe to Kindness Hub for more unforgettable stories. Special request: comment below with the words, "Kindness changes lives," if you believe one sincere act of compassion can transform someone's future. Because sometimes, the people who save us aren't the ones with power or influence. They're the ones who quietly stay beside us when everyone else walks away. And sometimes, all it takes is one honest confession for a sleeping heart to finally wake up.